I'm just, in all honesty, I'm a very content person.
Yes.
I find personal satisfaction in very small things. I don't also always have to have the big title or the big job. I'm just someone who is very calm, and I feel like I can help other people by being that sounding board. And I want to always be the person that people go to. When my kids were young and all the way through high school and college, our house was always the house where everybody congregated. I felt like mother to a lot of their friends, and I like that role, but I also want it to have substance.
Hello and welcome. My name's Kerry Sheffield, photographer and CEO of my own successful business. I'm also the host of She Networks, a great believer in lifting up women and loyal supporter to those that are around me. We are all surrounded by incredible women who are breaking the molds in this thing called life. Behind every successful online persona is a real person facing struggles, failures, and living real life stories that don't always have happy endings. We will have an honest conversation, dispel this myth of perfection, and find out what they consider a success, how they achieved it, and learn what they are still reaching for. You are not alone. Join the conversation. I'm so happy to have you, Lisa Davis, here with me today. And we're going to talk about a few things and really get to know each other, because we've just started to talk to each other at events, and it's been a long time coming. And so, yes, before we go on, introduce yourself. And I know there are many arms to your professional life, so tell us about those.
I will. I'm Lisa Davis. Carrie, thank you for having me. I, too, have seen and known of you for a long time. A lot of people reference you, and I'm happy that in the last couple months we've really gotten to know each other, and I love all the things that you're doing, and I'm happy to be affiliated with you. And
the pleasure's mine. Having you here is great.
So a little bit about myself. I went to the University of Tennessee and have a law degree from Tennessee. A lot of people don't know that about me. I was in legal publishing right out of law school, so I would write about the status of legal precedent for practicing attorneys. I wrote about state Court of Appeals and Supreme Court decisions. Did that for a while, and then had a family, and now, most recently, I kind of have two parallel jobs that don't intersect at all. I help my husband, who's a sports broadcaster but works for a lot of different companies, and I do kind of help him administratively, look at contracts, and just help manage that side. He's got a lot of balls in the air, so I try to minimize some of his administrative challenges. And then probably the thing that's a little more dear and near to my heart is I help my daughter. She started a candle company in 2021 called Color Los Angeles. I gave myself the title of VP of Sales, but I mostly just really help her. It's her brainchild, it's her baby, but I help in any support kind of ways that she needs.
Well, and that's all fantastic. And there's so much information. Do you know what my first thought is when I hear you talk? And it actually happens with most women that I get to sit down and talk to. You just breeze through that whole law degree lawyer bit, right? Yeah. And what I hear is 4 to 7 years education and entering into a world that is, so dominating, and it was male dominated, and I know not so much anymore. That was quite a big deal. So you just didn't skip through that. You didn't have a part-time job in a clothes shop. That was a lot. I mean, right. And where were you practicing and working? And what took you on that track in the first place?
Well, that's kind of an interesting story. I graduated in 1990, so it was a time when at that time, our graduating class was maybe 25-30% women. But I also was a lucky daughter to be the daughter of an attorney. My mom put herself...
Nancy,
yes, you met Nancy. Nancy's Nancy Martis, a little famous visitor from Memphis. She put herself through law school when I believe she started when I was about 12. So my middle school years, My mom worked full time during the day and then went to school at night.
Yeah.
Law school. She also had a master's degree. I have a lot of aunts, uncles, 3 of my brothers. So there are a lot of attorneys in my life, and it was just kind of the thing to do. We're all kind of wordsmiths. When I grew up, my family would sit around the table and debate issues and take positions, and you had to defend yourself. And
gosh, my son would love to be in your family.
Yeah,
he does all that debate stuff.
Yeah, it was just kind of what I always knew I would do.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, but I'm also not a very antagonistic person,
right.
so I liked more of the research side of it. I loved being an undergrad student. I loved being a law student. The application, not as much. So that's how I got into the legal publishing side. That was more my speed.
Yeah, and then how did you meet your husband?
We both went to the University of Tennessee.
Right.
We had a class together our freshman year in college, but didn't start dating till the very end of our senior year in college, kind of fortuitously. I like to tell the story of we both showed up at a Shirley Chisholm lecture. Shirley Chisholm was a U.S. representative from New York, and a little fiery woman who ran for president, the first female black candidate for president. And my husband stood up and asked a question in the front of the room, and I kind of noticed him again. And I asked a question in the back of the room, and he kind of noticed. And I went to a mutual friend of ours, and I said, Charles Davis is a guy I've just always wanted to get to know better. And she said, well, what have you got to lose? And so I called him and asked if he wanted to go get frozen yogurt 3 weeks before we graduated.
Sounds like a movie.
And the rest is history.
And it's beautiful history. And what brought you to Orlando? Is it his work? I mean, in the NFL. Yeah.
His work, and this was before he was a broadcaster.
Right.
He was at Stanford in the athletic department and took a job with Disney to help open Wide World of Sports. So that's before it was even open.
Yeah.
And then he segued into running the Disney Golf Classic, and then just by kind of chance got into broadcasting. And then that's his true love and his passion, and so that's how
That's it. So wonderful. And you come here and you raise this lovely family. And actually, can we talk a little bit about your sister, Rachel?
Yes.
So, and I want to talk about the wonderful blend that your family is. And I want you to talk about that, and I want you to share with me how your family talk about that, because I think when I was looking you up, I saw this wonderful post of your family at large, and you put something about the colours of the rainbow and all you are. But yeah, you have a very beautiful sister. Yes, but I saw a picture of you as a bride. Was you a bride with your little sister? So there's a few years between you. So tell us about her.
Yes, there's 21 years between us. My sister and my brother, who was 2 years older than my sister, are both Korean, both adopted. My mom's a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed, European-looking woman.
Yes.
And, so my daughter, my sister's Asian. She's 5'10", looks like a model. She's amazing. So they're both adopted. And then I met my husband, who is black, and so my children obviously are biracial. And we are the Rainbow Coalition, reference to Jesse Jackson and the Rainbow Coalition campaign. We have a very diverse family, and I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. Yeah. And how does, tell us how people react, especially in somewhere like Windermere, think about it for a second, it's an interesting kind of area. Like when you guys walk into a room, do you feel like are you exhausted with telling your story, or do you still embrace it and enjoy it?
I think I have just, from the get-go, we're just a family. I just fell in love with a man. Yeah. A man who I just think the world of. I have so much respect for him.
And I think that alone, I wouldn't have looked at your family and thought anything. But then when you introduce your sister, I'm like, now the curiosity peaks. And it is, for me, from my perspective, a curiosity on a healthy level. I'm like, okay, I want to know a bit more.
I'm sure people think, okay, if you put this and this together, how do you get this? It doesn't always make sense. But I love what our family represents.
Yes.
And I've always just been very straightforward. We just are what we are. And I don't really make allowances for anyone to make any value judgments because
absolutely.
there's nothing.
There is no value judgment. For me, it's purely, I want to know that story because it looks like a good one.
It's a great story. It really is.
And then so that we can come on then to talk a little bit about your children and namely your daughter Taylor and with your colour collection. Now, me in my ignorance, and we all walk around on an ignorant platform, I did not put the colour to... being from a woman of colour in starting the brand, and also being a queer woman of colour. So, this is it. So I'm kind of glad, actually. I just looked and saw the pink and the blues and the yellows and whatever, and I just saw the colour with the candle company.
That's okay.
So talk a little bit, and I want your input on this, but I know Taylor's not here to talk about it. So when did she start this, and why did she start this?
So Taylor moved to Los Angeles, I believe, in 2016 and had several great jobs in the entertainment industry. She worked for big agencies like CAA and smaller boutique-like agencies like Haven. And she was got more and more specific. By the end, she was doing comedy management.
Right.
And when the pandemic hit, all of that live events kind of dried up and she was furloughed. And she used that as an opportunity to just kind of look around, think about what did she like to do? Who was she? What interested her? And she was living in West Hollywood in LA. And
WeHo, I do like that area.
Yes, WeHo. And she had made a really good friend at a store called Candle Delirium. Candle Delirium is in West Hollywood. It's a very big store that sells nothing but high-end luxury candles. And she got to know them, got to know a lot of the products, and just realized that she had always had a passion for colors and brightness. Her boss called her Rainbow Bright because her office was always...
and your wardrobe's always very colourful, and I love that. And she was beautifully pink, obviously, rightly so, the other day when she was launching her pink brand in Windermere. But so obviously that's come from you too, I think. You have a sense of style and design that she's seen. So So she just kind of merged a lot of her interest, and she had a vision of what she wanted to do. She started with 6 candles that were the classic collection, and she's added a line of neutrals and a line of pinks. And she was very lucky at the beginning to have a mentor who really took her to the best vendors in LA for fragrances. Her vessels are a very unique product that they have a unique kind of glow when you burn them, especially at night. And I feel like she was able to kind of leapfrog over some of the challenges of starting a new business because she had really good advice. But she also, to her credit, she just really knew what she wanted. She has a very definite idea of what this brand is, and I'll sometimes offer suggestions to her, and she's like, "No, Mom, that's not. You're veering off. That's not what color is." And it was always color. That was always. And so, did you? Clearly, you sat around the table debated, and the fact that she's so forthright, knows what she wants, is because you're people that talk to each other. We've had previous conversations, podcasts here with families that never communicate, and it's so interesting to see
maybe to a fault we communicate. We're a very chatty, very engaged family for sure.
No, and I tell you what, it's healthy, and even if you feel at the time that words should be left unsaid, I don't think they should ever be left unsaid if they're in the mind. So let's go back to that point. So clearly this is your daughter. She's been furloughed. You're all having a little panic for her, and you just want your kids to be happy. When did you step in and help get involved in colour?
Yeah, we were lucky enough to have a family member who helped a little bit with the seed money for the business. That's all been paid back, I'm happy to report.
Great.
So we had the financial support, and but I saw the product for the first time once she had done it. I was in Orlando, she was in LA. She always knew what it was going to be. So I don't feel like I really had a lot of input on the design or the vision, but I certainly could help, edit things and her copy. And but I have to say, if you've ever visited her website and seen the descriptions of some of the candles, they're very creative.
She's selling from the heart, isn't she?
She's very much so.
And there's money, there's 5% going from the sales in Los Angeles to the...
She always supports a local,
Yes.
a Los Angeles charity of some kind.
It's the LGBTQIA plus organization.
There's always going to be some element of that, but it might be, it's not always going to be that. And then she does, she's done several events here that she's helped support, the Heart Association, the Pet Alliance, support our scholars. We want to be involved in a lot of the organizations that I have a passion about. So Taylor's been helping with that.
So let's talk about you and your involvement in this. When did you get involved and why? Yeah, and let's talk about that on your own personal level. So yes, we can talk about Pet Alliance and Save Our Scholars, both that I'm very familiar with. I've been involved more with Save
Support Our
SOS.
Scholars.
Yes, support us. Thank you. Support us. I want to say Save Our Souls because SOS, but anyway, you know what I mean. Support our scholars. Yeah. You've raised your family. You've got a very capable family, and they're doing wonderful things. Where's Lisa? And and did you feel this was coming in at the right time for you,
Yes.
or is it? Yeah. Okay, so talk about that.
I have been involved with the Pet Alliance. This is probably my 7th year, and I help organize the silent auction for the event. And it's such a well-run, very, very good organization. I have a lot of dogs in my house. At times, I've had as many as 4 and 5 dogs. And some of them, not all of them, have been rescues, but that's definitely my mission now, to have all rescues forward. So that's one I'm very passionate about. And then I've more recently been involved with Support Our Scholars, which is an organization that identifies senior high school girls, and there's a very lengthy application process, and they narrow it down. I was just at an event on Friday, for the announcement of the 2024 class. They have 19 young women that have been awarded scholarships of $10,000 each. But then I feel like the unique thing about this program is they don't just give them money and send them on their way. They provide this huge support system.
And mentors and everything,
Each girl is given a mentor. I have an amazing mentee that just finished her freshman year at USF. So proud of her. But they're given mentors, and then there are programs for if they need mental health counseling, there are funds for that. If they need an emergency fund, access, we have that. It's just kind of a holistic approach to sending someone off. The event I went to yesterday was a dorm shower, and they have amazing people who donate basically they shop for and provide a whole room. The dorm is ready for them.
And these girls are in need. And they could be in emotional need, or they could be in financial need, but they qualify by their need and by their grades that they have to achieve a certain GPA.
They are all stellar students who are so capable, but just maybe don't have the financial means.
To go to college here is an expensive enterprise. I'm now broke after 2 of them. But but that's it. So I understand that and it is a great organisation. So you're fulfilling some of your need for your own self with that, and then also, now you're involved with Colour too. And how did that happen?
It was kind of a slow evolution to get involved. I definitely, from the get-go, this is my daughter's company.
And did you feel like you never felt like you were walking on eggshells a little bit to get involved? Because it's hard with kids, isn't it? Like mine's sitting around, she's in earshot right now. But to get involved to the point where our kids never really want to hear anything from us, do they? So it's a difficult thing.
I think more as teenagers that might be the case. My daughter is 30, and so I think she's kind of come out the other side, and I do think she values my opinion, my husband's opinion, other family members. I think one of the things that she's been really good at, actually, is she has sought the advice of people, certainly us, but people in the industry. She's done a lot of research. She's talked to a lot of people who maybe are tangential to the candle business, but had something that she could learn and incorporate into this product line and what it means, what it is.
Because when you look at the product, and I'm bringing it up close so people can see it, when you look at it, it looks very established. I mean, I honestly, I first saw the product in the candles in Pastille in Windermere. And I think I'd seen you around other places too. But it looks expensive. It looks like a brand that's been around for many years.
That's music to my ears.
No, honestly, for me, it almost to the point where I don't walk into Prada because I don't have a Prada budget. And that's a good thing, right? And because we can all, generally, most of us can afford a nice candle. And I want to talk about the candle industry a little bit. But yeah, it does look very established. The marketing's beautiful. The packaging's beautiful. All of these elements together, that's not easy to turn around. I mean, you're talking, 4 years to get to this point where we are now. What was her sales last year? What's the kind of numbers that we're talking about? I don't mean numbers in money necessarily, but in candle sales. Yeah,
I think she's right where she should be given the amount
And she's
of time.
living off of this?
I don't think she's in the black yet, right. But that is expected. I mean, I think
it's 4 years. She's a baby company.
Typically at about the 5-year mark when you kind of know which direction this is coming. The candles are in Nordstrom department stores. Yes. They're in a lot of boutiques across the country. So she's penetrated and gotten to get into a store like Nordstrom. I think she's a little ahead of the...
Yeah, so what do you feel that is her... USB, if you like, that's getting into, and so let's talk about that. I want to know how she's managed to get her foot in the door of big stores like that. I know that can take years. I think I listened to, is that Sarah Blakely or Kendra Scott, how many years, and actually Sarah Blakely, with the Spanx, right? How hard it is to get into, you have to have something, and it's about who you know, or tenacity, but also the candle market.
The candle market is saturated.
It is saturated, but I don't remember as a young person growing up candles ever really being a thing unless the lights went out. So, and now the candle market is huge, but not just the candle market. I mean, I can't burn candles that aren't good candles because it gives me a headache and migraine. So now, not only do they have to be good, they have to be ecological. You have to think about the land waste, all these things. There's so many factors, but they are huge, huge market. And people want them, and no one's going to stop buying candles, actually. I mean, I think I got about 50 for my 50th birthday. So.
And I think self-care is something people put a premium on now. And I think people know that we have to step back sometimes and give ourselves a little TLC. And they're really even pandemic recession-proof because even when things are hard, everybody wants just a little comfort. And this is a price point.
So they represent self-care.
It does, very much so. And what Taylor wanted to do in developing the color idea is a color for every mood, a color for everything you're going through. You find what you need in the candles. The colors don't necessarily have. We can tell you what all the notes are. But some of it's what do you want out of the candle. So, and they also, her design was, as you pulled them out and saw the very sleek matte white on the outside, but they're a fired color inside, and when you light them and at night that color glows through, so it's get the color glow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And where do you produce something like that, and how do you go about finding those producers?
That's where I feel like she was very fortunate to have a mentor, but I also credit her for developing a relationship with, she just went into a store and started talking up one of the managers in the store and developed, obviously the more she went, the more knowledgeable she became, the better questions she had. And so he saw in her someone who had the skills and the ability to communicate what it was she wanted, what she wanted to do. And then because was a high-end candle store, he could put her in contact with the vendors that do all of the higher-end candles. So you get that good soy, you get the good fragrances. These fragrances aren't just at the top of the candle, they go all the way through. Yeah. So you're going to get a 60-hour burn that has the fragrance all the way through. Not all candles do that. So, but that's something she learned from people in the industry.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite color right now? And give me the description. Do you know what you said? She's got like these wordy descriptions for each candle and the color it is.
I love, right now the more recent ones, the gray is kind of a ski lodge. It's kind of a woodsy, just warm comfort feeling. The pink has a touch of floral, but it's also got a little black pepper, so it's got a little edge to it.
Yeah.
So they all have they're a little nuanced, and they might not necessarily be exactly what you think that color is because they're very layered and complicated fragrances.
And I love that about them because, I have to be honest, anything like vanilla or English rose was just send me running for the hills. I'm really sensitive to smells. So, and I love that, and I'm really conscious of the smells. I love the idea that you can actually give a message to somebody in this candle without actually writing or saying any words because it's what it represents. Where does she want to take this? And without blowing anything up, and telling the world all the things, with a candle company, I know that you want to get into all the retailers and you want it to be out there, but what else is the future of growth in a candle production?
I think she has, Taylor says she's got 20 more products in her head right now.
Yeah,
that she can visualize. She'd like certainly to keep adding candles, but I think she'd like to add accessory products for candles. She'd a whole line of maybe even, I think she's talked about going into just some home decor. She wants to grow the company. She wants it to be a very recognizable name and to be something that's an on-demand kind of product that she wants people anywhere in the country to be able to see.
And so did you see this coming from anywhere?
No.
She worked in the entertainment industry and now there's this thing. And how has it changed her in those 4 years?
Oh, she's changed and grown so much. She was a telecommunications management major in college, thinking that she wanted to she knew she wanted to work for an agency, but I thought she was going to be the president of NBC. I thought she was going to go kind of on the administrative side of running entertainment businesses. But somewhere along the way, I think, you never know kind of what direction you're going to take and circumstances that may take you on a fork in the road. And she kind of found herself at that fork. And I feel like she found her thing, and we're all so lucky if we find the thing that doesn't feel like work, that you want to do, that you can't wait to wake up and work on. And I'm so happy for her that she's found that thing.
Yeah. And have you found your thing?
It's funny. I always envisioned myself as this high-powered, not necessarily attorney, but professional. I interviewed with the FBI when I was in law school, and I thought I was going to go in that direction for a while. But I found a fork when we moved a couple times, and so I found working in our family businesses to be gratifying. Yeah. I'm very content with what I'm doing, but I also definitely want to continue my own personal growth and being able to contribute in a positive way in a variety of ways.
And what's your personal growth look like? What are you doing to fulfill yourself? And obviously you're involved in these organizations and they can keep you as busy as you want to be busy. But when you stop back and have a look at yourself, I mean, you're a really good listener. You're very observant. You're paying attention. Unlike me, you're listening more than you're speaking. So, that's a skill I wish I had.
I think you have that more than you think.
Well, I mean, it may be going in, but it may not. People may not realize I'm paying attention. But no, it's something that I admire in you. and just quietly watching. And and you're making intelligent assumptions about things. But so how do you fulfill that desire to, well, you want to debater, you're not antagonistic, but I think especially when, I mean, you've got busy with this, and then there may be a point where, you know, you feel like you're not needed or you don't want to be involved anymore as much.
I think I'll always find the next thing. I'm just, in all honesty, I'm a very content person.
Yes.
I find personal satisfaction in very small things. I don't also always have to have the big title or the big job. I'm just someone who is very calm, and I feel like I can help other people by being that sounding board. And I want to always be the person that people go to. When my kids were young and all the way through high school and college, our house was always the house where everybody congregated. I felt like mother to a lot of their friends, and I like that role, but I also want it to have substance. And being a mentor to a college student, I feel like I can kind of draw on a lot of the things that helped me. And at 60, I have a lot of insight.
I know everyone just gasped and went, "What?" That's a shock to hear.
I think that's also something I'm very proud of, being 60. I think
well, you just I think maybe it's your contentment that means that you look much younger. Not that matters. I don't think people should look younger or whatever. It's always it's kind of a bone of contention in me now when people say, "Oh, you don't look your age" or whatever. I'm like, how am I supposed to feel about that?
Right.
But I think maybe now that 60 looks a lot different to everybody, and we're not showing up the way we were perceived in the media or on TV shows or whatever. It's always that Golden Girls reference.
Right.
They're all in their 50s, and you look at them, they look 80 now, right? Yeah.
Right. But I think always trying, I did a kind of silly thing in advance of my 60th birthday. I wanted to be able to nail a handstand.
Oh, yes. I remember seeing something. Yeah.
And silly, but there was, to me, that's something that not a lot of 60-year-olds might think about doing. And just little things like that I want to always be kind of pushing myself a little out of my comfort zone. I probably need to take some classes and I loved going to school. I loved college. I loved law school. I probably need to take, now that you're asking this question, it's probably time to take a few classes and just learn something new.
Yeah. And what does interest you outside of helping other people?
I'd like to take a few business classes, because that was not my concentration in law school, and obviously I have a lot of business interests that I never imagined. So I'd like to be able to kind of fortify some of that skill set and make sure I'm current on everything. You're in a big group of friends. You have a lovely friendship group that you see each other a lot and you socialize. What is the role they give to you when you're having to organize and do something? Because you'll get, I know Melissa will be in control of everything, so she's CEO. So I'm always I'm always the listener. I'm taking everything in, and my kids are always telling me, "But Mommy, you have to remember to respond." Like, I'm sometimes thinking so much internally, but I forget to let you know that I'm processing information. But I am a lot around, and I feel like I'm drawn to very strong, opinionated, dynamic women. And that's who I want to be surrounded by. I want to be around women that push me and make me think and get me out of my comfort zone. And, I'm in on book clubs and groups that make me, I do Pilates, I do yoga, I do things that make me think. And I always want to be around people who I deem to be a little better than me at everything.
Yeah, so you grow.
I want to be inspired by people who, can get me to the next level.
When you're looking at your daughter now and you're seeing what she's doing and, living out this dream and making it happen for herself, what do you think the differences are? Well, obviously as well for your daughter being biracial. do you feel that you can actually physically watch? Have you watched the difference in how she's been treated or how she gets accepted by the world in the workplace and maybe in school and in high school? Are you seeing a big difference between your growth at her age and her now? I mean, that's interesting. I've never really thought about it that way. As a white mother with a biracial daughter, are you seeing her experiences growing up to be different?
Yeah, I remember when they were young, I always made sure that I had a family picture of us in my wallet. That was before cell phones, if you can imagine. Because if anybody questioned if it was my child, I wanted to be able to whip out a picture and which are things that most mothers don't have to think about, I don't think.
We take it for granted,
But again, I go back to, I just never really gave people opportunity to,
But colour aside as well, I mean, and that only came up in my thought processes before I asked the question, was really actually just as a woman, things have changed now. Like, what was the recent anniversary? We had 50 years of the vote, right? Wasn't that this week?
We had 50 years of
credit card,
not having to have a man co-sign with you to get open a checking account, get a credit card. That's insanity to me. I can't believe that is such a short amount of time. That's our lifetimes. When we were born, our mothers would have had to have a cosign. That's crazy to me.
But starting a business at say 26. I mean, well, actually, I opened my florist shop, but I wasn't completely alone in that, and it was an established business I was buying. I just think it's an exciting new and different world.
It is
for this next generation although the one behind it, I mean, your daughter's very entrepreneurial. She's doing the work. I know how much work this would take for someone to do, and yes, she's had support and she has all of you. Do you feel though that there's a whole bunch of people too that think that they can go out in the world and they can create a business and they can be famous tomorrow and they don't actually have to do any work? I feel like there's a falter here.
Very much so. I see that a lot on my husband's side of work, where people will get right out of school and they want his job.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that when he was starting in broadcasting, he took any and every assignment that came along. He did high school basketball, high school volleyball, any and every sport. And, at that time it was not glamorous. He would travel by car. He would, when you go in at the ground level, you're getting incredible experience. And a lot of people want to just jump right over all of that paying your dues, but experience and go to the highest level, and it's just, that's not realistic.
No.
And it really does yourself a disservice, because you're putting yourself out there and you may not really be ready for what you're having to do.
Do you think social media and just this online appearance without any history and any background is giving people the impression that it's that easy to just walk straight in?
Absolutely. I think they see social media influencers and they think, I can make a 6-digit figure just talking about
and we get all those ads every day, don't we?
We
like,
do.
If you've got an Amazon account, you could be making $20,000 from your Amazon account.
Yeah, I feel very lucky that I didn't grow up in a social media era, and I feel for our generation of children. But that's all they know also. They don't know any better. They don't know any different. And they cope and they manage and they find, they have to find their balance, because that's where we are.
Yeah.
They just have to.
But, so that being said, what message would you say to someone that's 25 years old, they've been lucky enough to have a college education, about to go out in the world? What do we need to do to launch ourselves if we want to be a successful entrepreneur? What do you think are the attributes that and I'm asking you this because for someone like me, I just, work hard, but you've got the words, you're wordsmith and you're listening and you're watching, and I'm sure you've watched your daughter with her struggles and successes and failures. So, what would you say to somebody?
Yeah, but I also think my daughter Taylor also did something else before she started the company, which gave her a context, and she learned by kind of doing something that she realized, this isn't, I thought it was my passion, but it's not. And sometimes you have to be willing to take that risk and go in another direction that you don't necessarily know you have the groundwork for. I think we all have a little bit of imposter complex. We always think everybody else knows what they're doing and we're the only ones that are, uncertain. But we're all just constantly learning and growing and gaining and implementing information from our shared experiences, our individual experiences, and it's the, I go back to, it's the lucky ones that can decipher and figure out their passion. But I think she would have found her way but if she hadn't developed color, I think she would have found something else equally meaningful, but it could have been
anything.
Something.
How did you react as parents? And I think a lot of kids are afraid. With some parents, I think a lot of kids are afraid to say, actually, I don't want to be a doctor.
Yes.
I want to paint houses. And their parents are reacting.
That's a great question, because I think there was a little period of, I don't know if I would say mourning, but I had a vision that she was going to be this big time, LA agent, and that's what she had planned for years. And so you have to be, we all go through kind of that transition of letting go of a certain image that you have or expectation of your child.
Yeah.
But we have to do that.
Yeah. No, and I can relate to that. I can completely understand, not so much about in a vocation way, but just changes in personality or circumstances or differences. You have to let go of the belief of your own vision of them and let them have their own life and be themselves. They're not little
versions of us.
No.
And I think sometimes we get caught up in what we think we want for them, or we think we know what's best for them. So I definitely, this is a risk. It's a risky venture. But I have found, both with my daughter's business and my husband's business, it was that time when they took a risk that they got the biggest reward.
Yeah, they always say when it feels uncomfortable and when it feels scary, that's when you're
That's where
jump.
the growth occurs.
Yeah, and what's changed for you in your relationship with Taylor? Because, she's gone from working on a salary and doing this thing and calling you a couple of times a week and, you guys going and hang out. Has it changed the dynamics with you?
It has, because we definitely have conversations where I'm putting my color, advisor on hat, and we talk business for a while. And then sometimes I'll have to be very intentional and say, okay, now I'm talking mom to daughter, and we have to get out of this, because it's very easy to get bogged down in just the business side of things, because there's so many small details that we want to go over, and we're always working to refine things and develop things and troubleshoot.
Yeah.
That we do have to sometimes step away and say, okay, this conversation is just about us.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I love it. And I thank you so much for coming. I wanted to know a bit more about you. And I love that there's still more to know.
Yeah.
Because, you give us a little bit, but not intentionally. It's not like you're being mysterious and holding back. You're just somebody that's a slow release, like these beautiful candles.
That's a very astute observation. I think that's true. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just from being around you, and I think it's easier because I'm like the absolute opposite. I'm like, how much of me can I get out in 1 minute? And I think that's less of... people can obviously get the wrong impression about that. We're all different, right? We all come from different places.
And we need that. We need everybody.
And mine comes from anxiety more than it comes from the need to tell you everything about me. It's just that if you tell me to shush, I can't. It's impossible. But for those that are in the local area, we can buy the candles. Let's talk about where they retail. But I know that it's going nationwide and they're being distributed. But if you are in Orlando, where can we pick up our own colour candle?
Pistol in downtown Windermere. They just did an event for us a few weeks ago. It was the official launch of the new pink line, and they did an incredible job merchandising the store, and a very classy event. I'm so appreciative of everything they've done. They were really the first boutique that took us on, and I remember going in, I had relationship with Rania, the owner. I said, my daughter started this candle company. I'd like to show you. And I'm sure she had a vision of, oh gosh, not somebody else who's pouring candles in their living room. I can see how she might have thought that. but it was a very fun experience when we went in the first time and showed her the product, and she was, I think, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
and
like I
relieved.
said, it looks so established.
Yeah.
It really does not feel like a baby brand for me when I look at it. And I love marketing, that's my background. I see something. I honestly figured it was something that had been around for a very long time, very established.
It's the best.
Well, it just looks perfect in its execution. But and people can buy online as well. I'm
They
assuming.
can buy it at Nordstrom.com, and they're in 12 of the bigger stores. We're looking to expand that. I think they're going to do a big rollout of some more of the lines pretty soon. And you can always go to colorlosangeles.com. You can buy directly from Taylor, and she'll give you a little personal attention, I think, there. So
Yeah, and we have boutique owners listening. They'll be able to reach out to you directly. And what's the Instagram account for? I'm asking you a question now, right?
Color Los Angeles.
Perfect.
Yeah. She has a great Instagram site, X site, and you can learn a lot about the company by looking at her Instagram.
Absolutely, and I did. I had no idea where color came from, and then the community that she's helping serve, and the heart behind it. And I think now more than ever, we are much more interested in buying from people that have a meaning, and it's not just a commercial enterprise. It actually has a heart in it. But look, thank you so much. Thank you, Lisa.
For having me. It was great.
And it was great
it.
talking to you more.
You
and
too.
I'm looking forward to seeing where you and Taylor go with this. But so that's Color Candles, and thank you.
Thank you. Take care.